What's going on, guys? It's Sam from HEAdesigns, and today on Designing Different, we're doing a new theme, color. So the first episode, Designing Different, we went over texture, and in the series, we like to take a theme that's related to design and decompose it so you guys can learn how to use it, what to look out for when buying a new knife or any product really. Today we have a new product type that we're using, a bunch of new knives, and a modified format for this episode. So without any further ado, let's go down tabletop. Welcome to tabletop. I think I just spit. Welcome to today's episode. Today we are doing the conversations on the color. As you can see, we have some new things here on the table. Got the cool watch. Got some cool man slits, also known as bracelets for men, with some cool, some little fancy artwork. Got some naps on the table. It's gonna be a fancy day. Cool. On this episode, we are going to be trying to answer 3 questions. 1, why to use color? 2, when to use it? 3, how to use it. All right, why to use color? Let me get some eye candy in here for y'alls. All right, why to use color? I'm gonna keep this one brief. Colors everywhere in the world. As a result, they have an impact on our buying decisions, design decisions, and how we think. Sometimes that can even trickle into how we feel. So different colors can give off different vibes. Blues can be kind of calming and soothing. Yellows can kind of be happy yet cautionary. And you know, a nice black can be kind of subdued, cool. So given that these colors can have a massive impact on the overall design, it's important to give a lot of thought when using color or when looking out for things in different colors. For example, an all black design is very different than, let's say, you know, this golden blue. They just have a different vibe. There's a different feeling to it. Yeah, so that's kind of why to use color. Use it because it can really change your overall design. When to use it. So usually people use color when they're trying to go for a certain look. So here, for example, with the Swiss Army knife, a Lox Cadet in OD green, it gives off a very military kind of, I wouldn't call this tactical. It's a little too shiny to be tactical, but definitely a military vibe. You have something like the Spyderco Dragonfly, and this gives off a very maybe almost like maritime, like Wayfarer type vibe. That's kind of the overall look and feel for this knife. Sometimes if you want something that's more of like an everyday carry, maybe something like this buck, the colors really lend themselves to like a more of a traditional carry this in my pocket for 70 years and then die with it, so that my grandchildren have to pry it from my dead hands. That kind of vibe, if that's the type of vibe that you're into, or if you know, you want something a little bit more blacked out. Make a focus. More blacked out, kind of like a cool tungsten style vibe. Shout out to Fanatic Edge for these dope Cerakoted EQs. This is actually my personal carry. I love this little thing. But yeah, that's kind of a good guideline on when to use it. If you are trying to go after a specific look, then that'll kind of guide your color choices. Creating differences within a product line. So I personally love to do this with HEA knives. I like to create differentiation within a specific product using our color patterns. So here we have the Wingman in gold and green. This is a very unique colorway. Here we have a nice shade of blue and gold. But yeah, these two, even if I pick up the gold and blue, these are very two different looking knives, and it all just comes down to the way that they're anodized. So yeah, gives a lot of visual appeal to a design. And another way that you can use color is to create visual differences between materials. So I prefer that technique as well. So here, for example, all the hardware is a different color than the scale color, so that it always gives a visual pop depending on what you're looking at. So from every angle, the knife is interesting. It's cared for, and you can see that, you know, this is indeed a different material than this and this and this, or a different component, really, is probably the better way to put it. But yeah, second is third, I don't even know what number we're on. When you need a function to stand out. So for example, I wish I had a better example here, but sometimes on chronographs, you'll have your pushers to start and stop your chronograph be a different color than let's say the crown or the case. So in situations like that, it's really helpful to have a different color. Sometimes you can see this on safety equipment. So for example, like when the release on your seatbelt will be a different color than the latch and the holder that it's on. Lastly, it inspires different moods or uses. So, you know, kind of like a purple knife gives off a very different vibe than let's say this all black Kershaw. Just different vibes, different feelings when you get the knife, and it might not be everybody's cup of tea to go all crazy with the colors, and for others that might be exactly what they're looking for. So that's when to use it. How to use color. All right, so there's, just so you guys know, there is actually like a lot of work that's done on color and what's called color theory. But to start, if you're going to be using a single color, pretty much a solid color, this is considered to be a solid color scale. It's all black. Now, there's different like finishes on it that make it look different, but generally speaking, this is an all black solid color scale. You could argue that this also is a solid color, other than like the silver that's used for the shield and the pins. This is considered to be a solid color design. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. If that's the look that you're going for, I mean, we've had plenty of blacked out models in the past, but this is it's a specific design choice. Like if you want to keep things extremely simple, going with one color can sometimes be the easiest way to let's say not make a mistake or not make something that would be extremely off-putting. Generally speaking, though, people like to see two colors generally. Now, when you get into colors, I think you guys remember when you were in like elementary school, they used something called a color wheel. So we're gonna be bringing that back. So here we have a color wheel, and as a pointer, I am going to use the Kershaw. So here we have your primary colors. Quick review: you have your blue, yellow, and red. When you mix them, blue and red, you get violet. Blue and green, you get yellow, and red and yellow, you get orange. So that's your primary are your blue, red, and yellow. Your secondary are your mixed colors, are your green, orange, and violet, purple, whatever. So that's kind of your secondary. That's it's good to know these things when you're trying to layer in multiple colors. So as you can see, oh no, there we go. As you can see, there are different ways to mix these colors. So just to give a visual, there are terms for where these colors sit on the wheel. So complementary colors are exactly opposite the first color. So for example here, violet is a complementary color to yellow, green to red, blue to orange, I think you guys get the picture. Um, Analogous colors are colors that are next to each other. So, for example, with the green and gold wingman, those are analogous colors because they sit near each other on the color wheel. So that's just so you guys can get an idea of like how that looks like in practice. Um, then you have things like what we do with the blue and gold, where you could say this is more like a kind of like a split complementary. We're choosing like the blue here and the gold, which would probably be like sitting somewhere over here, and that's the symbol of sorts for split complementary. But yeah, choosing colors that are on like the opposite side of the wheel would give off that contrasty effect. Um, Obviously the same, but kind of in reverse with the steel blue of the screws and the gold. Let me see if I have another cool example of that. This is more of like a peach. This would be kind of closer to the to complementary, where you have like an orange yellow, and then you have like a blue green, or type of like aqua there. So that would be more like the complementary. Yeah, so these are just general guidelines. These are kind of what designers look at when they're trying to decide color palettes, or put together things that look good together in a room. But I know what you're thinking. We're not talking about the blacks and whites yet. So yeah, we can put away the color chart for now, and we can get into some of the introducing other shades. Me one sec. Gonna be pulling up some notes. These are my notes. I'm pulling them up on the side. All right. The two things to keep in mind with in terms of terminology with the blacks and whites and whatnot, there's something called monotone achromatic, and that's where neutral colors ranging from black to white. So the best example I have of that is this here bracelet, and this is made out of frosted quartz and lava rock. So this is called monotone achromatic when colors range from white to black in shades. So this is kind of where you see like a lot of like urban style coloring comes from. It's usually this monotone achromatic. Then there's something called monotone chromatic, where a color scheme is just a single color. So let's just say it's blue, and then you add shades to it as you go along. So a good example of that would be kind of like this here fossil. Now, if you can tell, the dial color, if it can focus, the dial color is a slightly different shade than the rubber strap. That's using the same general color, but then changing it with different tints, shades, or saturation. So that's kind of the closest example that I have here that can show off the variation. Obviously, you can get crazy with it and like go really through like a spectrum of colors. I have an example of what that looks like here on a wheel. As you can see there, I don't know if it's gonna focus that close. Oh, it does. Nice. Hues are pure colors. Tints are when you take a color and you add white. Tones are when you add gray, and shades are when you add black. So all of this is kind of like the terminology. That's like just a brief intro on what color theory is. But generally speaking, it's all about what looks good at the end of the day. So sometimes you want to mix in more like out there polishes and touches, like here on this 7 Friday, where you have see if it can get focused. There we go. You have your like kind of gray main hour minute counter. Then you have your hour counter and like a little copper. So that's like a silver and copper. And then you have a bunch of grays in between with a polished steel bezel. Then you have like this deep satin on the sides. So you can get really crazy with your mixing here, but at the end of the day, it comes together in a very interesting way. Sometimes when you're working with different tones that have gradients, like here on this buck, you can go from like a brown to a black and then into a deep brass. So things like this they give off a very specific, like kind of like a gentleman's old school style vibe. You can see that mirrored here on this GEC, and you have kind of like a polish with like the brass pins and the brown micarta. That really just gives off a completely different vibe in terms of just color choice. With HEA stuff, I love doing the contrasting colors. That's generally what we go for. As you guys know, the motto is design different. So I do like to mix things up. And for the subdued colorway lover, I always make sure that the gray is out there, because I know that a lot of guys, myself included, really like just having a matte gray on like a nice blue. It just gives like a classy accent. But yeah, that's about it for color. I think this episode ran a little long, not as long as the first episode, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's go back up there. Thanks for hanging out with me today while we geek out over some cool designy stuff. If you enjoyed today's video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and algorithms and stuff. If you have any suggestions for themes in the future, or you have any ideas on what you'd like to see from the HEA channel, whether it's like new products, maybe some takedown videos, maybe some watch reviews, I don't know, that's the stuff that I'm into. Please put that in the comments section below. And also, if you have any good examples of somebody or something that uses color very well, please also leave that in the comments. If you like any of my knives and you'd like to support HEA, please head on over to HEAdesigns.com and subscribe to our newsletter. I only bug you when like cool stuff is coming out. And if you like any of my knives, also please head on over to our dealers. They are the only ones that currently have the Wingman. It's sold out on my website, so please go ahead and on over there and show them some HEA love. All right, guys, take it easy. Peace.